I think I like this weapon more as an idea than actually being a thing. Mastery rank 10. I'm still not sure damage wise, but it is fairly easy to build. 2 Argon crystals can be gotten fairly easy, the same as 6 gallium isn't really that hard. 20,000 credits, 50,000 total credits including the 30,000 to actually buy it. Not that bad for a weapon that, well, it does more damage than the Cyanide Heliocor, but then again, is there anything that really doesn't? It's not that impressive, the Cyanide Heliocor. The biggie, of course, has got to be things like the normal Heliocor does more damage than this on impact, but this thing has slash, which is way more slash, so the total physical damage is more, but it does swing slower, have 1% less crit. Ooh, tempting as a takeover, but the fact that this also has 38% status versus the Heliocor's 2.5 makes up for it a lot. This is looking way better than the Heliocor, which I've been using for a long time now. Which leads us on to the Fragor, and of course the Fragor Prime, which has a skin on it for some reason. It does more damage than that as well. Then of course in 21.7.1 they go and extend the handle for this thing, so it's much longer. And to answer the big question, despite the big handle being added being the only change that's happened to this in the past week, is it still worth it? Well, yes, weirdly. I was expecting not to switch from the Heliocor to this because I've used the Heliocor an insane amount since it came out. If you want to run the Heliocor with status, obviously the Cyanide version is way better. Which is probably better to compare this to, the Cyanide version, because that has more status than the normal one does. But sadly, this thing only has an attack speed of 0.733, making the Arca Titron probably one of the slowest weapons, melee weapons in the game, because that is an insanely low attack speed. The 24% crit chance is okay, but there are weapons that are obviously better. The normal Heliocor having 25. It's only a slight difference, but if you are going to go for a crit weapon, the Fragor Prime is still probably your best bet. I personally preferred the Heliocor over the Fragor Prime. It just depends on how you play and what level enemy you're going up against more than anything else. The fact that this has more slash to balance the slightly, I mean it's only lower than the Heliocor by 2, and the Fragor Prime, it's got more. I think that had 91, this has got 117 impact, which is why I keep concentrating on the Heliocor, because that physically does more damage than the Fragor Prime. It's just the Fragor Prime had an extra 10% crit to it. And of course it does have a 2.5 times multiplier, making it better for crit to begin with. The multiplier actually makes up for the fact that Fragor Prime does a little bit less damage. But I use the Heliocor more, so that's what I compared it to. It does more slash, way more slash than the Heliocor. That did 7, this does 63. It's just, this was definitely better. There is pretty much no arguing that, because this, despite the fact its major downside is that 0.733 attack speed, you can counter it going full blown crit build with Blood Rush and Berserker on there, maybe some Organ Shatter thrown in just to kind of take the crit multiplier over 3 times. That's not so bad, like at all. It actually made it a really effective crit based weapon. But it's the ability to stack up that added buff up to 10 times depending on the enemy you actually kill with it. If you can kill 10 enemies with it and max up that 10 stack, it will release it on the next ground pound that you do, or the ground slam, or however you want to refer to it as that. And it will then release the extra damage which makes this good for a condition overload build with the electrical damage that's supposed to come off from this thing. It was actually that the fact it did the more damage is why this is way better than the Heliocor. More damage is more damage, and that unleashing the massive electrical storm when you actually hit the floor, if you can manage to get the 10 times stack and keep it, that is actually a really, really good aspect to this. It means it does more damage than it says it does, which is why I kind of went for this as the build. There is a major problem with this, and it's not the fact that I have drifting contact in here to increase the status chance, but then ended up only putting one of the dual status chances in to give it a 76% status. Went for full-blown elemental on this rather than increasing the status chance, because it got a 76 just from these two mods. I of course have Blood Rush on for the combo, but I opted for Primed Fury over Berserker. It's the Condition Overload in here. It's basically Condition Overload, Blood Rush, and Drifting Contact are three of the... yeah, they will come in pretty good together. You could of course swap out things like Drifting Contact and put Weeping Wounds on this, which is, well, if I just go all the way to the end where it lives, it wouldn't fit because it's a 9-point mod, but it does a similar kind of thing. 45% status chance stacks with combo multiplier. It's a status based version of Blood Rush. So my build, I've sadly gone for kind of a balanced build. Throwing Condition Overload on because it has that electrical storm, and I also threw Corrosive on so it'll mix with that as well. I'm doing this too much recently where I'm balancing my builds instead of just opting for either going full blown crit, using of course all the crit mods, full-blown status using all the status mods, but this is just kind of where I settled with this. I was tempted on Primed Reach to increase the range of this, because the electrical storm should have also be increased, but I didn't, and it definitely did a noticeably more amount of damage than the Heliocor did, which is the main reason I'm actually going to swap and keep this thing equipped, because more damage is obviously better. If I couldn't have increased the attack speed past 1 with just Primed Fury, I wouldn't have bothered. So despite the fact that the biggest downside to this is the attack speed is a 0.733, everything else on this makes it a really impressive hammer. The fact the attack speed can be countered with Primed Fury. Berserker would still go really good on this though, because it of course stacks up to 75%. You could sacrifice Primed Fury for Berserker, but unless you can actually get the crit hit, it's not going to work all the time. Anyway, we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch yous next time.